Welcome back everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today, because in this video we are diving deep into the fascinating and mysterious story of the 1982 1-cent coin. A coin that may seem so ordinary at first glance, yet in reality holds a jaw-dropping value of up to $30 million due to the strange set of circumstances, minting errors, unusual mistakes, and the possibilities that have surrounded it since the day it was struck at the United States Mint. And as you settle in for this incredible journey, prepare yourself to learn why a coin that most people might toss into a change jar or leave forgotten in a drawer could actually be worth more than a mansion, more than luxury cars, and more than most people will earn in a lifetime. And the 1982 penny is one of those legendary examples in coin collecting where the line between common and extraordinary is blurred by historical events, minting transitions, and unforeseen human and machine errors. And when you look at 1982, it was a transitional year unlike any other in the long history of the Lincoln cent, because it was in this year that the US Mint made a monumental shift in the very composition of the coin itself, moving away from the familiar 95% copper planches that had been used for decades to the cheaper copper-plated zinc planches that were introduced to save the government money due to the rising cost of copper. And this seemingly simple change ended up producing one of the most chaotic and confusing sets of cents ever released, because both copper and zinc planches were being used simultaneously throughout the year. Multiple design modifications were also in play, with small date and large date varieties being struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. And as a result, there are at least 7 official varieties of the 1982 Lincoln cent recognized by collectors today. Yet beyond these already complex varieties, there exist rare errors and bizarre mistakes that have sent shockwaves through the coin collecting world and catapulted certain examples into the realm of multimillion-dollar value. And it is here where the story of the 1982 cent gets truly exciting, because the right error, the right anomaly, or the right transitional coin can transform a common 1 cent into a life-changing fortune. So what kind of errors are we talking about, and why are they worth $30 million? Well, first we need to consider the famous 1982 D small date copper cent, which is one of the rarest and most sought-after pennies in existence, because the Denver Mint was only supposed to strike zinc planches for the small date version. Yet somehow a handful of copper planches found their way into the presses and were struck with the small date dies, creating a virtually impossible coin that should not exist yet does. And authenticated examples have sold for tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on condition. But what makes this story even more astonishing is the possibility of unreported or yet undiscovered specimens with unique double strikes, off-metal errors, broad strikes, or even coins struck on foreign planches that could take the already incredible rarity of the 1982 errors and magnify it into legendary status. And it is within this cloud of mystery that numismatists and collectors speculate about one particular coin, a 1982 cent that embodies a combination of errors so dramatic, so unbelievable, and so historically significant that experts argue it could realistically command $30 million if it ever surfaced. And when we talk about a $30 million penny, we are not talking about just a minor die crack or a little doubling on the lettering. No, we are talking about a coin that represents the perfect storm of rarity, desirability, historical importance, and absolute uniqueness. And imagine for a moment a 1982 D small date copper cent that also shows dramatic double die obverse doubling, similar to the famous 1955 double die, combined with a full broad strike outside the collar, with the reverse showing partial brokerage from a previously struck coin. And on top of that, the coin retains pristine uncirculated condition with blazing original luster. Now such a coin would be a once-in-a-millennium error, and collectors and institutions would stop at nothing to own it, pushing bidding into tens of millions of dollars. And while some people may think this is an exaggeration, we must remember that collectors have already paid millions for coins like the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar. So the idea of a $30 million penny is not at all far-fetched when you consider the global demand for unique historical rarities. and the 1982 cent with its chaotic production circumstances provides the perfect breeding ground for such treasures, and beyond the famous small-date copper rarity there are countless other varieties from that year that continue to produce surprises for collectors, such as double-struck coins, off-center strikes where the design is partially missing, wrong planchette errors where a cent is struck on a dime planchette making it undersized, or transitional strikes where leftover copper planchets were accidentally fed into the presses meant for zinc, and each of these categories has produced coins worth thousands and even hundreds of thousands, and when we expand our imagination to the possibilities of combinations, like an off-center strike on a small-date copper Denver cent with doubling and retained cut breaks, the price potential becomes astronomical, and collectors are always willing to pay record sums for unique combinations that exist nowhere else in the hobby. And it is also important to note that 1982 pennies are still out there in circulation today, hiding in jars, drawers, piggy banks, and coin rolls, waiting to be discovered by someone with a keen eye. And every so often we hear stories of ordinary people who stumble across these rarities without realizing what they have, cashing them in at face value or selling them for just a few dollars not knowing that their coin could be a once-in-a-lifetime find. And that is what makes the hunt for the 1982 cent so thrilling, because the chance of discovery is still real, and the possibilities are endless. And when you combine all of this, the minting transition, the multiple varieties, the potential for exotic errors, and the historical significance of the year, you end up with a coin that is more than just money. It is history frozen in copper and zinc, a tangible piece of American culture. And for those few extraordinary examples that embody the most extreme errors and conditions, you are looking at a treasure that can rival fine art, rare stamps, and gemstones in terms of value, prestige, and desirability. And that is exactly why the 1982 1 cent can command a valuation of $30 million in the right circumstances. Because rarity alone is not enough. It is the story, the drama, the uniqueness, and the desire of collectors that drives value into the stratosphere. And the 1982 cent has all of these elements in spades. And as we think about the journey of this coin from its humble beginnings as a small piece of copper or zinc planchette being fed into a press in 1982 to becoming one of the most talked about rarities in the hobby today, we are reminded of the magic of numismatics, the thrill of the hunt, and the power of history. And that is why so many people dedicate their lives to collecting and studying coins, because each piece tells a story, and some stories are worth more than anyone could imagine. And the story of the 1982 cent is still being written, because who knows what discoveries await tomorrow. And maybe one of you watching this video has that $30 million penny in your possession right now without even realizing it. So the next time you see a 1982 penny, take a closer look. Check if it is copper or zinc, small date or large date. Check for doubling. Check for off-center strikes. Check for anything unusual. Because the possibility that your penny is the next great rarity is real. And with that sense of wonder and excitement, we continue the adventure of searching, discovering, and learning. And the 1982 1 cent remains one of the most captivating and valuable coins ever to leave the US Mint, forever etching its name into the history books as the coin that could be worth $30 million thanks to its errors, mistakes, and incredible possibilities. Next 2019 D1 cent USA coin. Today, because in this video we are going to dive into one of the most fascinating and unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting. A story that takes us to the year 2019 and specifically to the Denver Mint, where the 2019 D1 cent coin, a coin that most people would assume is just another ordinary penny worth only face value, has actually captured the attention of collectors and experts worldwide because of the astonishing errors and minting mistakes connected to it, errors that have elevated certain examples of this coin to a staggering value of up to $28 million. And as unbelievable as that might sound, we are about to break down exactly why such a tiny piece of metal could be worth more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than a private jet, or even more than some of the most expensive homes in the world. And before you dismiss it as exaggeration or hype, let's take a closer look at the background, the production process, the rare mistakes, and the possibilities that together have transformed the 2019 D cent into one of the most valuable coins you could ever hope to find in your pocket change. Because unlike older key dates where rarity comes from limited mintage, the magic of the 2019 D lies in the incredible world of mint eras and transitional possibilities that create unique one-of-a-kind pieces capable of commanding astronomical prices at auction. So let's start with the basics. The 2019 D penny is a Lincoln Shield cent struck at the Denver Mint, part of the long-running series that replaced the Lincoln Memorial design in 2010. And while most 2019 D cents number in the billions, making them extremely common, a handful of error coins slipped through the cracks, and these are the treasures that collectors dream of. Because error coins are not just mistakes, they are pieces of history. Physical evidence of the complexity of coin production and the human and machine flaws that sometimes combine to create absolute rarities. And when it comes to the 2019 D cent, there are a range of dramatic errors that have been discovered, from off-center strikes to double strikes to misaligned dies to coins struck on foreign planches. And each of these carries value on its own, but when certain conditions align, the value can skyrocket beyond imagination. So imagine for a moment a 2019 D penny struck off-center by more than 70%, with the date still visible, an error that makes the coin look more like a blank planchette with partial design than an actual cent, and collectors go crazy for these dramatic off-center examples. But now add to that a double strike where the coin was struck once normally and then struck again at an angle, creating overlapping images of Lincoln's profile and the shield on the reverse. And then imagine that this coin was not struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchette, but rather on a leftover foreign planchette that had been mistakenly loaded into the presses, creating an off-metal transitional error. And suddenly you are no longer looking at a minor curiosity worth a few $100s, but at a unique piece of history worth millions. And this is exactly the type of combination that experts believe exists with certain 2019 D cents. A once-in-a-lifetime coin that embodies multiple errors in pristine condition, making it the crown jewel of modern coinage. And let's not forget the possibilities of dramatic doubled dies, because while the most famous doubled dies come from earlier years like the 1955, 1969, 1972, 1983, or 1995 doubled dies, the technology and speed of modern minting still leaves room for significant doubling, and reports of 2019 D cents with doubled lettering or distorted shield details fuel the belief that there could be an undiscovered monster doubled die out there waiting to shake up the hobby. And when we look at auction history, we see that collectors have already paid millions for unique cents like the 1943 copper penny or the 1974 aluminum cent. And so it is not a stretch to imagine that a one-of-a-kind 2019 D era with multiple anomalies could easily hit 28 million or more, especially in a world where rare collectibles compete with fine art, vintage cars, and gemstones for the attention of ultra-wealthy buyers. And the story gets even more exciting when we think about the sheer scale of production at the Denver Mint. Billions of coins being struck at high speed, dies wearing out, machines misfeeding, planches of different metals occasionally slipping through, all of this creating the perfect environment for dramatic and unexpected mistakes. And what makes it even more compelling is that these coins are still circulating today, meaning that anyone watching this video could potentially find one in their pocket change, in a bankroll, or in a jar of pennies sitting forgotten in the house. And imagine the shock of realizing that a coin you assumed was worth 1 cent is actually worth $28 million. And this is what makes the 2019 D cent so thrilling to discuss, because the possibilities are not just theoretical, they are real, and collectors are actively searching, scouring rolls, checking coins under magnification, hoping to find the next big discovery. And when it comes to value, it is important to remember that rarity alone does not determine price. It is the combination of rarity, condition, demand, and story that drives coins into the multimillion-dollar category. and the 2019 D has all of these elements in play. Because the errors associated with it are rare and unusual, the condition of many modern coins is high due to less circulation where demand for unique modern errors is exploding as new generations of collectors enter the hobby, and the story of a modern penny worth more than a skyscraper is irresistible to the media, the public, and serious investors alike. And let's go deeper into some of the error types that could elevate a 2019 D cent to the $28 million level. First, there is the possibility of a mule error, where the obverse of a 2019 cent was accidentally paired with the reverse of another coin such as a dime or nickel. And mule errors are some of the rarest in all of numismatics, with previous examples like the Sacagawea dollar or Washington quarter mule selling for hundreds of thousands. So imagine the impact of discovering a Lincoln cent mule. It would send shockwaves through the collecting community and command astronomical bidding. Then there are broad strikes, coins struck outside the retaining collar causing them to spread out larger than normal. And dramatic broad strikes are highly collectible, especially when the date and mint mark remain visible. And then we have capped die errors, where a coin sticks to the die and impresses its distorted image on subsequent planches, creating bizarre ghost-like impressions. And a 2019 D with a capped die strike showing a ghostly Lincoln profile could easily become a headline-making rarity. And don't forget off-metal errors like cents struck on dime or foreign planches, coins that weigh differently, ring differently, and look slightly off-color, and collectors pay huge premiums for these mistakes. And in the case of the 2019 D, with billions of planches being processed, it is not at all impossible that a stray foreign planchette found its way into the presses, and when authenticated, such a coin could instantly be worth millions. And if you combine that with other dramatic errors, you get the type of coin that could reach the $28 million mark. And while skeptics may say this is impossible, history proves otherwise, because collectors and investors will pay almost anything for absolute uniqueness. And in many ways, coins are like fine art. The Mona Lisa is priceless not because it is the only painting by Da Vinci, but because it is unique, famous, and iconic. And a one-of-a-kind 2019 D-era penny would hold the same type of appeal within numismatics, becoming the crown jewel for whichever collector or institution secures it. And as we think about all of this, it becomes clear that the 2019 D cent is not just an ordinary coin. It is a symbol of the hidden treasures that might be hiding right under our noses. And the thought that a penny struck just a few years ago could rival the value of ancient gold coins or rare silver dollars reminds us that numismatics is full of surprises. And this is why collectors, young and old, are so passionate about checking their change, because every coin has a story, every coin has possibilities, and sometimes the smallest coin holds the biggest secret. And so the 2019 D cent has earned its place in coin collecting legend as a coin with the potential to be worth $28 million due to its remarkable errors, its dramatic mistakes, and the extraordinary possibilities that continue to capture our imagination. And who knows, maybe the next great discovery is out there right now. Last 1992 D1 cent USA coin. Today, because in this video we are going to talk about one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping stories in all of modern coin collecting. A story that takes us into the early 1990s and focuses on the 1992 D1 cent coin. A coin that on the surface looks like just another ordinary Lincoln Memorial cent worth a single penny, but in reality has the potential to be worth an astronomical $26 million because of the incredible errors, dramatic mistakes, rare varieties, and extraordinary possibilities that make it so valuable and so legendary among collectors. And as you sit back and listen to this deep dive into one of the most exciting coins ever produced by the Denver Mint, you are going to learn why the 1992 D penny is not just a small piece of copper-plated zinc, but a treasure that represents a perfect storm of history, minting anomalies, and collector demand that have driven its value into the stratosphere. And before we dig into the specific errors, let us first understand the background of the 1992 cent, because this was no ordinary year for the Lincoln series. By this time the memorial reverse design had already been in use for decades, but the mint was preparing to transition to the Lincoln Bicentennial Series that would not actually arrive until 2009. Yet during the production of 1992 cents something unusual happened. Something that would go on to become one of the most important transitional varieties in modern numismatics, and that was the creation of the so-called close AM and wide AM reverse design varieties. Because most memorial cents struck from 1959 to 1992 show a wide spacing between the letters A and M in America on the reverse. But beginning in 1993 the mint switched to a close AM design where the letters are nearly touching. And through a remarkable set of circumstances a very small number of 1992 cents, both from Philadelphia and Denver, were struck with the 1993 style close AM reverse, creating a transitional variety that should not exist, and this is what makes the 1992 D close AM cent one of the most coveted Lincoln memorial cents of all time, with authenticated examples already selling for tens of thousands of dollars at auction. But here is where the story becomes even more thrilling, because beyond the well-known close AM variety there are rumors, speculation, and tantalizing possibilities of even more dramatic 1992 D errors that could exist. And when we start to imagine what could happen when minting, mistakes, transitional anomalies, and one-of-a-kind conditions collide, we begin to understand how a coin like the 1992 D penny could realistically be worth $26 million, because in coin collecting the value of a piece is not just determined by its metal content or its face value but by rarity, uniqueness, historical significance, and demand, and the 1992 D has all of those elements woven together. So let us take a closer look at the kinds of errors that make this coin legendary. Starting with the famous transitional close AM reverse, which on its own is enough to make the coin incredibly rare. But then imagine if one of these close AM varieties was also struck with a dramatic double die obverse, similar to the famous 1955 double die where Lincoln's profile, the date, or the inscriptions show clear and dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye. Such a coin would instantly leap into the category of once-in-a-lifetime rarity, but then add in the possibility of a misaligned die strike, where the design elements are slightly shifted creating a ghost-like shadow effect, or perhaps a broad strike error where the coin was struck without the retaining collar and spread out larger than normal while still keeping its full design details, and suddenly you are not just talking about a rare transitional variety, you are talking about a multi-million-dollar treasure. And what if we go even further and imagine a mule error, which is when the obverse of one coin type is mistakenly paired with the reverse of another, and while no such mule has been confirmed for 1992 D cents, the possibility of a Lincoln cent being paired with a dime reverse or even another denomination would create one of the most sensational errors ever discovered, instantly propelling its value into the tens of millions. And if such a coin were found in pristine mint state condition with blazing red luster, it would have no equal, because in coin collecting absolute uniqueness drives absolute prices. And let us not forget the ever-present possibility of off-metal errors where a cent is struck on the wrong planchette, such as a dime planchette, a nickel planchette, or even a foreign coin blank. And these types of errors are already known for other years of Lincoln cents and bring huge premiums. So if a 1992 D close AM cent were discovered struck on a copper planchette from a leftover pre-1982 blank, or on an experimental foreign planchette, that combination of transitional design and off-metal rarity would be unparalleled, and collectors with deep pockets would fight tooth and nail at auction to secure it, easily pushing the price into the tens of millions. And then there is the matter of condition, because as we all know, condition is king in numismatics. A rare coin in circulated condition may bring thousands, but in pristine uncirculated gem condition it can bring hundreds of thousands or even millions. And when we imagine the absolute finest known 1992 D close AM cent, perhaps graded MS69 or MS70 by a leading grading service, with flawless surfaces, perfect strike, and unmatched eye appeal, that coin alone could redefine what collectors are willing to pay for modern rarities. And when you add in the dramatic possibility of unique errors layered on top of this transitional variety, the $26 million valuation becomes not just a dream but a real possibility, and history has shown us time and again that collectors will pay whatever it takes to own the best and the rarest, as seen in the sales of coins like the 1794 flowing hair dollar, the 1933 St. Gordon's double eagle, and the 1913 Liberty head nickel, each selling for millions and millions. So why not a 1-cent piece from 1992 if it represents a once-in-a-lifetime combination of rarity, era, and condition? And the truth is the 1992 D-cent is still hiding in circulation. It is still tucked away in change jars, in drawers, in piggy banks, and in bankrolls, waiting for someone to stumble upon it. And every day new discoveries are made in the world of coins, new varieties are authenticated, and new records are set at auction. And that is why the story of the 1992 D penny is so thrilling, because it is not just about history, it is about possibility. It is about the dream that an ordinary coin could turn into extraordinary fortune. And that is why collectors all over the world are searching tirelessly through 1992 pennies, checking every AM on the reverse, weighing coins for off-metal anomalies, and studying every detail under magnification, because the potential reward is beyond belief. And that is why the 1992 D penny is now firmly cemented in numismatic legend as a coin that could cost $26 million because of its errors, mistakes, and possibilities. A coin that proves once again that even the smallest and most ordinary-looking piece of change can hold a story, a mystery, and a fortune waiting to be discovered, and perhaps even right now one of you watching this has a 1992 D penny sitting unnoticed in a jar, not realizing that it could be one of the greatest treasures in modern coin collecting history. And that is the magic and excitement of the hunt, the passion of the hobby, and the reason why the 1992 D cent will forever be one of the most valuable and sought-after coins of our time.